So, question 3. What is our ultimate purpose? Now, here we see this visual again. So now, right, these indigenous faiths of North America often view time as circular. And this comes from observing the seasons, right? Spring goes into summer, summer goes into fall, fall goes into winter, and then winter goes into spring again. We see this, right? This passage. So, death is viewed differently when you have this outlook. When you have this outlook and then you think about death, instead, death is merely viewed as a transition into a spiritual state. Because you might be thinking, well, why spiritual? And that's because of the aspects with animism. Exactly. So it was viewed differently than, say, to use the example with Christianity, of a soul being liberated from one's body and then ascending into heaven, right? Very different with these indigenous faiths of North America. So now, let's travel to Africa. Now, with the indigenous faiths of Africa, instead of animism and pantheism, we'll see that they're a lot more theistic in nature, and especially anthropocentric. Oh, that's a marvelous word. Anthropocentric, the word of the day. Now, remember what theism refers to, right? If there's one God, it's monotheism. If it's more than one, if it's plural, it's polytheism. Now, most of the indigenous faiths in Africa are polytheistic. So there's a pantheon of gods, just similar if you've ever studied the Greek and Roman myths, that same idea. And there's oftentimes a high god that kind of oversees all of the other gods, like a supreme deity who's responsible for the creation of the other gods there in the pantheon. Now, with these different gods, right? So this is polytheism, many gods. These are the different gods that the people would interact with. But the high god would be removed from the people. So we would worship those different gods, but we would not necessarily have access to the high god. The high god would be, in essence, kind of removed from our life, kind of disinterested, distanced. So, what does anthropocentric mean? With anthropocentric, humanity is the center of the universe and its focus. And this is the same understanding that Judaism, Christianity, and Islam have, right? Is that humanity is the center of God's creation. This is it. This is also true with the indigenous faiths of Africa. Now, with the teachings are focused on the present. In other words, they're more concerned with what can I do to live a good life, as well as caring for the elderly. And what's interesting is that when a grandparent or a great-grandparent dies, they'll practice something close to what we could refer to as ancestor worship. And what ancestor worship is, this is the belief that the departed soul or spirit is still present even though the body is not. And that ancestor's soul or spirit would have an impact on your life. So what you would want to do is you would want to make sure to please your ancestors. You would leave them food offerings. You would have interactions with them. Now, there's different aspects of these African faiths that have come to they came to the New World, and this is where things such as voodoo as well as Santeria came from. They have their origins in these different African faiths. So now, what is our ultimate purpose within the aspect of these indigenous African faiths? The idea of salvation or being saved, which is, which most Christians would think about, is absent. Instead, the focus again is on the present, living a good life, not doing bad things, so that when a person died, his or her spirit would be freed from the body, and then it would have a chance to interact with the living as well as some of the departed spirits of the ancestors. And if that person, say for example, was a bad person, then that spirit could be trapped in the body after death, or it could be liberated and then the spirit would not be able to interact with the living, and it might be taken off to a place of punishment. Yes, so now, again, it's important to remember that when we just looked at, this was a really broad overview of the Native American indigenous faiths as well as the indigenous faiths of Africa. Very, very broad. So, if you'd like to spend days, weeks, months, years learning more about this, that's a fantastic thing to do. Hopefully, this course will, encourage deeper understanding of other people's faiths through their religion. So, until we meet again, be well, do good work, and keep in touch.